welcome back to another episode of Tech Pro Unicorn Podcast. I am your host, Michael Grace. Today, I am joined by Alex Oliveira. And Alex is, first and foremost, he's a husband. He's a dad to 4 beautiful children. He has a wife, obviously, and he's been homeschooling for 3 years. He's a passionate entrepreneur. He loves business, and he loves helping business owners turn their passions into profits. He spent the last 10 years helping clients scale their brands through online lead generation. He's always welcoming a challenge, and he's relentless in the pursuit of innovative marketing strategies that actually work. All of that has culminated in Alex also being a fellow podcaster, which is always a joy for me to have a fellow podcaster on. We were talking before the show that we put content out into the universe and we hope it reaches somebody and we hope it helps them and makes them either more successful in business or better. So he's the host of Dadpreneur podcast. He has a website, dadpreneur.co, not com.co. And then he's also an author of a book called If You Build It, Will They Come? Which is kind of Field of Dreams-ish, but it's very applicable to business. And then the subtitle is The Golden Path to Lead Generation, Success for Your Business. So Alex, thank you for taking the time, coming and talking to us about you, your journey, marketing, helping business folks grow their business. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've been having such a good chat here and connecting, sort of used to doing it either on Zencastr or Zoom or anywhere. And you and I were discussing how this has been the saving grace for people like us who enjoy that the relationships that you build and what you get out of spending time with people to learn through them, through their skills and their stories. And so I love the platform for it. Podcasting for me has been a real big deal for the last couple of years. And so, any chance I get to go on a podcast, I feel honored to be here with your listeners. And I will do my best to give them the best possible content with the one little caution, right, that you and I were talking about. There is no hack or cheat sheet. So if you want to work hard, man, we've got the answers. But if you don't, sorry, we'll just try to make it entertaining then.
There we go. I always say, right, people say, man, you get to talk to all these millionaires. I've talked to a couple of billionaires, people that have grown their business from nothing, people that have been in positions with startups that then become multi-million and billion-dollar companies. And what's the one thing that they all have? And at no point in the hundreds of people I've talked to has anyone said, well, I found this secret code or I found, the magic pill. They all essentially can be summarized by they hustle. They hustle from the minute they get up to the minute they go to sleep, working on their business or their career or their personal self-improvement. Today, we're going to talk about marketing. Those of you that just start businesses, it's hard, right? And sometimes you're so focused on the product, right, or the service offering, and you're like, oh, I'm just not good at business, right? And the best way to get good at business is to listen to people that are good at that aspect of business, right? So we have Alex here. He's going to talk to us a little bit about lead generation, right? Because if you have the greatest product in the world and nobody knows about it, does it matter that you have the greatest product in the world, right? So how do you go about getting that exposure? So how do businesses, what should businesses be doing around marketing their product or their service?
Sure. Listen, if you're out there with a product or a service already, it's a little bit easier. It's a different answer than I would if a startup came to me. Even I've recently had a few startups, Silicon Valley, who are pre-revenue, and it's very tough because typically they're still in the beta stages. So they don't know their customer. They don't even know the customer journey. They just know that investors believe in what they're going after. And that's fantastic. I've gone down that road where I looked at exiting from my own company several times and then said, nah, I don't want to do that. And I've been on the ride with other companies where I've invested and done that. The thing about it is if you're a startup in that stage, it's hard because you don't know what your customers want. You think you know, but you probably haven't done hundreds and hundreds of surveys, which is what
Mm.
it takes to understand how that customer is going to react with your product and service. So that's kind of tough. But if you are a company that has revenue or at least one customer, it's a little bit easier. Pick up the phone and talk to your customer. It's that easy. What do you like? What makes you tick? What kind of content do you like us to create? What do you like about the product? What do you not like? And then if you go a step further, you talk to your sales guy. And if you're that solopreneur and you're saying, but I am sales, I'm tech, I'm everything, great. Get on the phone, talk to your customers, ask them what converted them from a lead to a customer to a repeat customer. But you got to talk to them. You got to ask them. You can't just like rely on analytics and data and say, well, they entered this page, they dropped off here. You really have to ask them. Like when you saw my ad or my email or my post or whatever, however it was, what attracted you to us? Because sometimes it's going to be price, maybe sometimes the benefits, the features, or they just needed that right then and there. And Bob told them that you guys were an option, but you have to document that. And as you document that, you start to go, oh, there's the map to get to success. So that's pretty much marketing. And some of you are going to find out that social media is not the path. And then you're going to go, oh my God, but everybody told me social media was the way to go, or being on LinkedIn day and night. And then you find out that no, not for you. So go talk to your customers.
I love it. We had a podcast that's not out yesterday, recorded yesterday. We were talking a lot about social media. The last two podcasts have really talked about social media, and everybody has this sense like I've launched a product. I need to be on Facebook. I need to be on Instagram. I need to be on Snapchat. I need to be going live on TikTok. I need to.
Yes.
Blah blah blah, right? And I've seen great businesses. There's this the example that I used was there's this young lady who created really cool sweatshirts. They're emotional sweatshirts. They have cool little emotional sayings on them. She sources the shirts herself. And what she does is she goes online on TikTok and she shows her delivery center, and it's just her and maybe her mom that helps her. And they go live and they package the orders, and the ticket printer prints the orders, and she thanks everyone. She's just very personable, and that works for her, right? And so she's on TikTok and Instagram. Those are her two platforms. But if you go to Facebook, like she's not on Facebook, right? But so like this whole desire to like feel like you need to be everywhere and canvas every platform. And I think the people that do that aren't following your advice, right? They're not listening to their customers. They don't have any idea where those customers are to go meet them there. Talk to your customers. It's so simple, but when you say it, you're like, oh my God, that's really it.
Yeah, and it's not about meet them where they are. I understand everyone feels that pressure to be like, but I got to meet my customers where they are. And I spoke to them and they said they are on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. Yes, but they weren't there for that. So
Yes.
now they're annoyed that you're advertising your product or service to them when they're trying to have a good time and just watch some cat videos or whatever. Yeah, right. Like I'm with my kid and showing them a video, and then you throw one ad after another after another. What do? I hide the ad, or just say hide it because it's annoying, and they keep showing it to me. So no, not everyone wants to be there, and you just have to know that there are different ways of doing it. And if you talk to most companies, Michael, Fortune 500s included, you would be surprised. Not the ones that are selling products online. Obviously, if you have e-commerce,
Mm-hmm.
a good chunk of your sales is going to come from that. But if you're not e-commerce, you're going to be surprised as to what percent, which is typically single digits, what percent of revenue comes via social media. Social media is there as an ancillary channel to sales, to get to sales. And certainly you have to have a presence. It's kind of weird if you're a company, you're nowhere on social media today. That would be very weird. That'd be like not having a phone number 30, 40
Right.
years ago, or a fax for that matter, right? But so you have to be there, but you don't have to be there every day and relentlessly, driving ads and showing up to do a live. And find out from your clients. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. I had an attorney not too long ago who big law firm. They were convinced that they needed to be on TikTok because of some TikTok influencer lawyer. And my thing to them was like, well, the lawyer who's on TikTok, He's actually a solo practitioner because he couldn't build a law firm. So he found his success just being an influencer. But he's not even a practicing lawyer. But he gives a lot of, I guess, good advice. And now he's convincing other lawyers that or law firms that they should be doing TikTok as well. I mean, not necessarily, man. You have to do your research. I mean, listen, I
Right.
sell lead generation and I don't do a lot in social media. Where I get my clients, conferences, face to face, outbound calling from people who download my ebook or buy the book or see me on a webinar. Webinar worked like a charm for me during COVID, but not today.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are 2 years later. We stopped doing the webinars because people got tired of Zoom and webinars. So
They got webinared out for sure. So you mentioned your business is really helping folks create successful online lead generation campaigns. How do businesses go about that, right? Maybe a lot of businesses seem to start with like just a handful of customers. Maybe they start a business and they got one or two that they know will buy their product, and that's enough to get them going. But at some point, they need to scale, right? They need to kind of announce their product to the world and get at least let people know that it's out there and try to generate some interest and some leads so that they can have the conversations and build relationships and hopefully convert them to customers. And when I say that, it just sounds so simple. You just, call them and talk to them. But I think a lot of businesses really stall at this point of, hey, I've got one or two, but I don't know how to scale that and generate the online leads. How can you help them?
yeah, absolutely. Everyone is in your ear trying to pull you in one direction. The content people are saying it's all content, inbound content. Go spend a ton of money on inbound. The sales trainers are saying, no, you need a sales team. Go spend your money on sales teams. They'll do everything for you. You know, the reality is it's different for every business, but let's just start with the most basic thing. You need a functioning website with landing pages. Landing pages, yes, not the website, landing pages. That means if you have 5 products or 50, that's how many landing pages you're going to have in addition to the 5 or 10 regular web pages, your about, your services, whatnot. Why? Because landing pages are like flyers at a conference. You're trying to
Mm-hmm.
sell something specific, a specific headline, specific call to action. You want someone to give you their contact information and boom, and then you're going to put them into that funnel. If you don't have landing pages and you're sending traffic to your homepage, it's not going to happen. And chances are, like most websites online, I think the last time WordPress reported that more than 60% of all WordPress websites, which is what, 1/3 of the internet, um, more than 60% of the websites have an outdated version of WordPress. So that already means that a lot of applications and plugins are not going to function right. And if they don't function right, that busy person, which is everyone who is in a hurry to get things to happen, they're on their phone trying to make a transaction or just give you their contact information and your website's spinning and spinning because you didn't want to spend more than $10 a month on your GoDaddy, plan
Mm-hmm.
that's with 1,000 people on the same server. There are so many implications about your tech and marketing stack, that MarTech, that is going to determine whether you have success or not. But start with that website, landing pages. You have to know not quality content. When we get to content from that website and landing pages, some will say you just need quality content. No, you need content that your audience actually wants and desires. And that's not going to happen if you're not talking to your customers. So that's not a marketing person. That's not an agency or anyone. That's just you talking to your customer and say, hey, we're going to create some content here. What would you like to see? And then you create the automation workflows so that you could capture data and create a better customer experience.
I love it. You mentioned a couple of things that I want to highlight because I think it's really important. Um, Having a website is one thing. Having a crappy website is actually worse than having a website at all, right? If you're going to throw
Absolutely.
up some do it yourself, homemade, template based bullshit, just don't, right? Save yourself the $10 and don't, right? If you can't invest a couple $100 for, you can go to Fiverr today and they'll spin up a really professional looking website, relatively reasonably priced. So much of so much of what we're able to to do today from a technology perspective is relatively low cost, right? And when you don't invest just that little money, to me, when I go to a crappy website, I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, this is such a turnoff. And it's not like, oh, I'm going to leave. I'm going to really make sure that I don't patronize that site, right? I don't want to participate in it. And oftentimes I'm on my phone, right? So I'm a
Yes.
technologist. I'm always on my phone. And then they have these websites that aren't mobile enabled. And I'm like, how in 2022 can you not have, you have to work really hard to have your website not mobile enabled in 2022 with the
Right.
advent of HTML5 and such. It kind of does it for you. So you've literally really screwed up if that happens. Um, Phones and websites so important. It's more important than your business card or your signage on your brick and mortar. Having a crappy website is insane in these days
Yeah.
and ages.
I'll give you a perfect example. I'm in the market for a car right now. I've convinced myself as a savvy user or consumer that I can't buy it at a dealership. And you're going to say, well, why not, Alex? And in some cases, the dealership is actually cheaper than buying it from Carvana. Why did I convince
Mhm.
myself that Carvana was the best choice? Because Carvana gives it to me like my bank gives it to me. Like the banks got with the program like 15 years ago. The
Yep.
Uber got with the program. Airbnb got with the program. Like a lot of these companies got with the program, which is why they completely broke all the other competitors that had been dinosaurs in their industry. And for dealerships, just a perfect example, car dealerships, not like the big ones like AutoNation, but like smaller ones, local. You go shop for a car, I'm telling you, I mean, there's chat windows popping up, rebates pop ups. Like it is crazy. It's the worst experience. And so Carvana, they kind of cater to that person who's shopping on their phone, needs information, really good information, down to like, how much can this car tow? I don't have to look for it. Everything. I mean, I feel like such a smart car shopper by going to Carvana. Conversely, I go to the dealership, they're trying to push me to call the dealer and talk to the sales guy who's going to jerk me around. I don't want to do that. And then, by the way, Carvana will just bring it to my front door, no price
Mhm.
haggling, just like shopping for food, like with Uber Eats or anything else. So there are some industries that are outdated, some others that went fast forward with COVID, like the medical industry with like appointment setting and whatnot. They had to. Restaurants, they had to. But there are some industries, Michael, that even for some mid-sized businesses are still living in 1999. So yeah, your
I,
website is like a storefront. If it's got a broken door, people are like, it's the same as physical. They're not going to come in. It's an ugly
it,
window. See you later.
it's so funny that you mentioned car shopping, right? My wife and I were just in the market for a car, right? And we did all the right things. We hit all the local dealers, and we kind of narrowed it down. And then we shopped online, and those dealer websites. And I don't care if it's an American brand like a Chevrolet or a Ford, or it's a luxury European brand, which happens to be what we were looking for, and it's like BMW or Mercedes. They kind of all suck. Um, and I love that you mentioned the floating chat windows and stuff. They're like pop up, pop up, pop up, and I'm like, I don't need service. Why are you asking me about certainly. And I just don't think they've, to your previous and originating point, they haven't talked to their customers, right? They don't understand what people want when they come there. Or BMW has all this like, we're BMW and BMW Motorsports and M3, and it just makes you feel so cool that you're going to be looking at BMWs. But then you're like, hey, how the hell do I find the car? Like, where's your list of models and information about that? It's buried under all the, hey, we're BMW. um, and so it's kind of a turnoff. It's really interesting to
Th-
me, that
This
site.
this is why, Michael. I'm going to point something out to you that they can find in my book. I forget what page it's on, but it's basically the list of marketplaces that exist. Marketplaces, when they came about, like the first ones, like Expedia, Hotels.com, some of those, they at first, you know, certain people in those industries were like, oh my God, they're destroying our business. But here's what they understood about consumers, that there's a place for a broker if they can deliver a better experience. So today, if you're looking
Mhm.
for a lawyer, if you're looking for a handyman, if you're looking for a dentist, if you're looking any product or service you're looking for, chances are, as you type it in into Google or Bing or any other search engine, there's going to be three types of search results. There's going to be the local, which is way at the bottom, organic stuff. There's
Mhm.
going to be the paid stuff, right? So the
Mhm.
brands that are like advertising, but then along with the brands, somewhere between organic and paid, there are going to be both ads as well as results for marketplaces. So if you're looking for food, it's going to be Yelp, right? Or Zagat. Okay. If you're looking for
Yep.
hotels, it's that. And every product and service you could think of, there's a marketplace, whether it's weddings, whether it's this or that. Why? Because Silicon Valley and the tech guys out there understood early on that, oh, all we have to do is we could make money, like billions, by building a better search engine for that specific niche. And we're just a broker. We charge the advertiser, we serve the user for free, and it's existed in every industry, and they deliver a better experience. So why would you mess around with the website from, some local dentist when you can find a better service and offer with the same dentist on a platform?
Mhm.
Healthcare.gov is the perfect example of a ginormous. They didn't get it right initially, but then after a few years, they got it, man. And when you go shop for insurance, health insurance today in healthcare.gov, there isn't a single carrier in the healthcare industry that offers an experience that is saved with your profile and history better than healthcare.gov. So they figured it out. And some of the businesses just can't figure it out to this day. So I always say, you want to build a great website user experience, go to whether it's Angie's List or UpCouncil or
Mhm.
TrueCar.com, any industry, and you are likely to find what a website should look and function like.
I love it. It's at the end of the day, being out with a great website has just great merits to helping your business. At the end of the day, it serves a purpose, right? It has to have a call to action. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
seen lots of great websites, and I'm like, this is awesome. What do you want me to do here? Um, and I'm just kind of left going, okay, well, that was great, and I click off of it, right? And for those of you that are selling a product or a service, right, there has to be a clear call to action or way for them to do something, to transact with you. And I think a lot of websites miss that. And honestly, to your previous point, the last thing that I want when searching for a car is call the dealership. I don't want to talk to anyone anymore, which is funny because you and I talk about relationships, and we'll talk about relationships and business relationships in a second. But when I'm shopping for something, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
That's why Amazon is so
Yeah.
popular. I
You
can get
want,
anything I want on Amazon. I can click a button, and in 2 hours, here in Phoenix at least, in 2 hours, it shows up on my doorstep. I didn't talk to a single person,
you want to
and it was
be
great.
you want to be your own Einstein. And that's the truth. We all get a rise, dopamine. Like when you're looking for information and new information enters your head, now you're like confident, man, I know more about this car than the dealer, than the guy who built it. You'll feel empowered. So
Mhm.
no one is going to give you the runaround. So the fact is, like, you've already done most of your research, you've made up most of your mind. Why make people jump through hoops, like the example with the car dealership, um, just to do that? And if you're selling product, by the way, I tell this to a lot of guys who are starting out with product. There's a simple solution: Shopify. And again, I don't get paid by Shopify or Carvana or any of these people, but there are tools out there that are really simple for you to solve your problems so that you don't have to talk about this again.
Yeah. You're not going to build a better selling site on your own than Shopify. I
No,
don't
but,
care
no,
who
but the
you
web
are.
no, but the web guy who wants to charge you 50 grand for that website will convince you that you should have your own customized website. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. We do a lot of consulting with businesses, and we talk a lot about differentiators. And I'm like, the ability to transact is so commoditized right
right.
now. Like, you're not going to create a new payment technology that somehow differentiates your business than using a plugin that already accepts PayPal and credit
Stripe.
cards
Yeah.
and bank
Boom.
transactions. And like, there's now systems out there that accept Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto. And I mean, you're just not. So don't waste your time.
Yep.
But to your point, there's a lot of misinformation, people trying to scam you out of money, that will tell you, like, no, no, we can build this really cool thing. And you just waste your time, your money, and your effort. So I always say find an advisor, right, that's done it before, that's a trusted business advisor, that can guide you on
Mm-hmm.
your journey and save you lots of time.
And I'll give one last piece of advice there. So whether you're new or your business is growing, but you know you need to get your website to the next level, and because you've already done the research and you're like, most people don't like our website, they don't like how it functions. So you've been convinced that you need a new one, you got to upgrade it. Do this.
Right.
Look within your industry who your biggest competitors are and find out what CMS they're using. What content management system are they using? There's an easy way to do that for those of you who are not tech savvy. Just go to builtwith.com. You go to buildwith, you pop in the website. It's going to tell you every tech stack that they're using, every tool from the analytics to the social, you name it. Find out and go, oh my God, my top 5 competitors are using Shopify or Wix or WordPress. You should look at that. This way, someone doesn't sell you on building something on Sitecore when you don't even have the budget for building it on Sitecore, right?
I love it. That is really solid advice. I've totally forgotten about Built With, but that's an
Love
awesome place. Yeah,
love that
it's
tool.
such a cool site. I haven't used it in a while, but it's such a good site. Um, Before we started talking about websites and going off on our tangent about bad websites, which is awesome, right? Because I tell my wife all the time, like, who the hell developed this? Like, I want to meet this person that's such an incompetent developer and, have a conversation with them. Like, are you proud of this site? Is this what you intended? It's so frustrating to me as a tech savvy consumer when I see that. But ultimately, right, what you and I were talking about was what we missed going to conferences. And I got an opportunity just to go to the HIMSS conference, Healthcare
Nice.
Information Management Society and Systems Society, and got to be around 28,000 people. And I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, look at all these people that I can talk to, right?
Yeah.
It was just amazing. And for days, I was so hoarse 2 weeks ago, just talking to people and shaking hands, actually shaking hands. Everybody had to be vaccinated before I get all the hate mail. Everybody had to be vaccinated and
Right.
boosted to come into the show, or tested. So it was perceived to be a relatively safe environment, and people were so happy to be with other people talking about business and healthcare and technology.
That's awesome.
Why are those business relationships that people establish? Why are they so important?
Well, I mean, listen, if you learn if you haven't figured out what can make your business successful, if you read all the great books by all the greats, it's relationships in every way. So I have a little quadrant that we built, I mean, years ago, and it's really in depth, but high level, it's a quadrant and it's got employees, customers, vendors, community. It's basically, again, and with those 4, what we do is we say, how do we manage those relationships? Clients, employees, vendors, and community, because we want to be in the community. It's important to us. So we've worked with over 100 nonprofits in the last 12 years. Very important to us, But looking at the employees, how are you going to build relationships with them? Your vendors, sometimes you overlook the vendor. You're like, I just need to buy this software. So I just go with whoever's cheapest. No, you need to have relationships. And of course, most importantly, your customers. But then you go a step further and you start to look at channel partnerships, your competitors, uh, people in the industry who can help you grow your business. Is super important. And it takes really a strategic effort to be able to nurture those relationships long term. You have to treat them differently, obviously. And it can't just be your employees who do it, depending on the size of your company. It does need to be the management team, the founders. Your face needs to be out there, and you need to be shaking hands and talking to people and letting them know that, listen, the conversation today isn't about what I can offer you. It's about what can I do for you? And then it can shift to, well, if you
Mhm.
have a need, maybe I'm the right guy for you, maybe I'm not. Actually, more often than not, right, Michael? You and I know more often than not, in most conversations, we're not the right person. I mean, what are people's conversion rates? I've unless somebody's full of shit, I've never met anyone say, "Oh, my conversion is 50% on leads to
Mhm.
sales." Unless you're selling like water in the desert. Like I hate that, right? Some people that, oh man, my conversion's like 70%. I'm like, you're full of shit, man. The
Yeah.
truth is I mean, even Apple iPhones, even if you're like an Apple person, you could be convinced that the better choice is an Android. There are other options. It just depends
Right.
what people need at the time that they need it. So I'm a Ford guy. I like Ford. I was set on getting an F 150 again, Michael. Guess what? Not getting an F 150. I started to look at other trucks, and I had F 150s forever, but now I've been convinced otherwise. So you have to learn how to nurture those relationships. And actually, to your point, I would say that the dealership where I actually sold my old Ford to is not going to get my business because they don't know how to nurture relationships. Simple.
Hmm.
I really felt just like a number, a transaction, and I wanted to feel like a little more because it's not like I'm spending $10 here, but you made me feel like I'm just another number so you could sell 500 units this month. So no, thank you. And that led to a decision of going, maybe I should look at a Chevy. Maybe I should look at a Dodge. But I'd never considered it. Even though for a marketing guy, I'm not very loyal to a brand. I don't care what brand I wear, what I buy. I want it to be functional and I don't want to feel like I got ripped off. But there are some things that I really like my Dunkin' Donuts, my Ford, my Android. But if you told me tomorrow there's a better reason for me to get an iPhone, I may switch to iPhone. I have my own reasons to be on Android, but I'm never going to close that door. But
Right.
here's where the relationship comes in because
Right.
if you haven't nurtured it, if you haven't been like intentional, and there's ways that you can do that, so for us, whether it's clients or the community, whatever it is, what I want people to know is that we are there for you. And it doesn't always have to be the product that we're selling. It might be a
Hmm.
connection to someone. Maybe you need me, you're doing a fundraiser and you need my company to sponsor. Like there's different ways that we can show up and show people that it's not always about that one transaction. And
Hmm.
and if you show that to people year after year, decade after decade, well, man, come on. You're not full of shit. And there are some companies that try to
Yeah.
do that for a minute, but eventually they stop. So that's what I've tried to do with our reputation, and relationship is absolutely paramount.
I love it. When I worked for a really large, I worked for Dignity Health before they became Common Spirit Health in an executive position, and vendors would be like, "Man, it'd mean everything to us. We got this great product. Like, how do we get into Dignity Health?" And I used to tell them, "You need to go on a 2-year walk along." And they'd be like, What are you talking about?" And I'd be like, "Stay with me for 2 years. Listen to our challenges, understand our business, and help me understand how your product solves some of our problems and provides a better experience to our patients." That process for me to build trust, for us to build a relationship, is going to take us about 2 years. If you're not willing to invest 2 years, then we probably don't need to have a relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
people would be like, "Oh, but this quarter I gotta make my numbers," and I could give two shits about your sales quotas, your numbers, your career, what you're doing. You sound like I have an interesting product. I'm interested,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to build a relationship,
That's
right?
right.
And that investment isn't a transactional investment. To your point, it's I want to help you. I want to help you get in here and have great sales opportunity, but I want you to help me solve my problems too, right? And position your product to meet my needs. um, and the number of business relationships that were formed and became personal friendships and long-term
Sure.
friendships through that process were amazing. And then a lot of times it was a great filter because people were like, oh, forget it. I'm not, yeah, forget it. We'll go off and we'll do something else. Okay. Good luck with that.
Yeah, and authenticity, I think we talk about authenticity so much on social media and how companies are authentic with their social
Mm,
views and whatnot or positions. But I'll tell you, I mean, to me, that's more applicable in the context of the face to face. I'll give you an example. I went to a conference in Denver. I think it was back in November. It was also my first conference back. I was like,
it's
my
so
God,
great.
so great. It was like the best thing, right? So I go to the conference, and one of my good friends that I met probably 10 years ago in San Francisco, he was there. So I see him. Oh, Roy, how you doing? And we always keep in touch, nurturing that relationship. I think Roy and I have probably made very little money together in different
Mhm.
companies, but we've nurtured the friendship. And over time, now he's just a strategic partner. Over time, I've checked in with him for no good reason. Just, hey, how you doing? How are things in Atlanta?
Yeah.
And he sends clients my way, employees, same for me. I send it to him. So we're at the show, and he says, Alex, I want you to meet this guy. He's an up and coming guy, like first year in the industry, but he launched a company, raised some money, and they're going to do big things. I'm like, yeah, I've been in the industry for over a decade. I want to meet new people. Cool.
Mhm.
We go up to the guy's booth, Michael, and walk up. This guy's got like I don't know where he thought he was going, like a tuxedo on and all, whatever. It was his shtick. But when you get that vibe, this is what I'm talking about: authenticity and relationships. I meet the guy, he barely shakes my hand, and does his like 30-second like elevator pitch, and then kind of passes me off to another guy that's in his booth, right? He says, this is the VP of sales. And Roy left because Roy was like, okay, I'll catch up with you later. I said, okay, cool. So I'm like, wait, what? Why am I talking to the VP of sales? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? So I'm already like, this guy's no good. And lo and behold, man, I mean, I finished talking to the VP of sales. I'm thinking like, I'm going to talk to the decision maker because that's the type of people I talk to, man.
Yeah.
Roy definitely would have told you that. No, man, the guy had no time for me, Michael. He was just kind of like, just kind of looking at me from the side and jumping from person to person to person to person, doing the same thing. Do you think I followed up with that guy? Do I think this guy's a relationship guy? Absolutely not. Now he's on my like red list. Like, dude,
Mhm.
we do not do business with people like that because that is not how you build a relationship, especially as far as like a first impression goes. You lost me, buddy. So
Yeah. I
relationships are
love it.
important.
I tell everyone, right, I'm looking for customers for life, right? And relationships for life. And whether it's, you're in this position at this company today, I want to give you a great service so that, you can be proud of bringing us in and having us partner with you at your current job. But the reality is you're not going to be there forever, right? You're going to go on to the next job or you're going to get promoted or this and that. And I want to have a relationship with you that I'm the first person you call, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm your trusted advisor, that I provide value to you, regardless of where you are. And those aren't relationships that are built, with a Passover handshake.
Mm-hmm.
Those are, oh man, hey, thanks for coming by. I really appreciate you taking the time. Let me hear about your business and what you have. How can we help you? Those kinds of questions where they listen first and talk later
Yeah.
are far more relationship building than, hey, let me tell you about what we do here, blah 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 blah. And night and day for me too at this convention. I had some great opportunities to build some really cool relationships, and they've already followed up, and we've had great calls and conversations 2 weeks after the convention. I can tell those are going to be career long, lifelong friendships, relationships that are going to develop. And then there's people who I thought like, oh, maybe this person, no contact. I sent them an email, no response. Don't want to be, in their face. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. And it's unfortunate because who knows what could have happened there. So,
Yeah, and I think like especially if we're talking about sales, people who go out, even though they don't consider themselves sales, they may say I'm an executive consultant like yourself, like myself. Ultimately, we're all salespeople, and you're out
mhm.
there. And what I say, like, but if you're truly like the salesperson, I was just in Brazil and I was consulting with a company there too, And I said to their sales team, I'm not a sales trainer, but I'll make it very simple for you. Because like if you do everything else that you've been taught from sales, sales gurus, right, as they would call themselves. And I've had those sales gurus on my podcast. They give really good strategies, Michael. But the thing that I say, it's like, it's really simple. If I'm talking to Michael at a conference, there's 20,000 people walking by, I
Mhm.
have to make it shut the noise down, and it's just me and Michael. And what you said is on point, Michael. It's listen, but it's got to be just me and Michael. I can't even like listen to my colleagues.
Mhm.
Everything else has to just shut down. I can't be thinking about dinner or calling my wife or checking on the kids. It's just got to be me and Michael and have a really great conversation. 3 minutes, already thinking about what I'm going to do in the future with Michael. So I'm already going, okay, I'm talking to Michael. I'm learning about his pain points. I'm going to follow up with him via email. We're going to be talking on the phone at least once a month until he trusts me and I can actually
Mhm.
offer what he needs. And I'm like building out a chart. Now, if I have 100 of those conversations during the 2-3 days at the conference, that sounds like, man, that's a lot. No, it's not a lot. And you may, instead of come home with 500 business cards, you may come home with 100 or 50, but you'll have quality.
Mhm.
But when you just go for numbers, like, man, I got to hit numbers, people feel it. They feel like, just like I felt when I got introduced to that guy. I mean, it was very clear. I'm just a number. So
Yep.
authenticity, man.
I love it. So many times I think people try and fail, right? They're like, okay, I went to this conference um, and it's significant expense, right? We exhibited at the conference. It was tens of thousands of dollars for our company to be there. But we established and made some great relationships and such that hopefully become something long lasting. But sometimes you'll do a marketing campaign or you'll put stuff out there and you're just like wah wah wah, kind of like, well, that was great, and literally nothing happened, or nobody called, nobody showed up. I hate to see, like, I've had some people, they're like, oh, we put together this webinar and we got this great content, and we got these speakers and blah blah blah. How many people did you get? Oh, we had like 8 people, and 4 of them were from our company, and 2 of them were from competitors, and they're just all down, right? What happened? Like, how do you recover from like a failed marketing campaign when you think you did the right stuff and it just goes?
And yes, that happens all the time. Actually, as a marketer, that happens more often than the latter. So, oh crap, that's the truth. I mean, of course, I'm not going to go present to a Fortune 500 and be like, look, I just want to let you guys know, like 70% of what we'll try will not work because we don't have like the code to the algorithm, and all the competitors are still advertising. Everybody's throwing content. It's this moving giant ecosystem. Of course, no one can promise you that it's going to work every time. As a matter of fact, it doesn't work more than now. All I needed to work is one time, one campaign, because then
Yeah,
I can replicate it. But just like I told you, Michael, we were doing webinars at the beginning of the pandemic. Man, they were killing it, killing it. And then all of a sudden, they weren't. People weren't showing up. We looked at it. What do you do when it's not working? You dig into the analytics. And when we dug
mm,
into the analytics, and then we chased the same people that had been to the last 7 webinars and then all of a sudden didn't show up anymore, so we thought they were getting better. They were just like, we just don't want to go. We're tired of it. That was our answer. But yes, I have come back from conferences where it just didn't work, where I ran ads on Google or LinkedIn where it didn't work as well. And the reality is, if we're talking about digital ads today, any of the platforms, you have to be prepared to try unlimited variations of that ad, of the call to action. And it is here's the bad news. It's in the book. It's 3 parts: science, art, and luck. So you get the creative, and they give you like 20 different headlines. You get the science guy who's driving it with data, and he says, here's how we should do this and that, and the landing page. And then who comes with the luck? Well, the luck, you don't control it, man. Like if I run an ad today and 9 out of 10 competitors are running ads to the same audience, well, obviously it's not going to perform as well as if tomorrow, unbeknown to me, if tomorrow only 5 of the 10 were running. True?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you'd be like, oh, that's crazy. Same headline, same everything, same offer, same price. Why did the one that ran the next day, why did it work better? Well, I don't control who's coming and going because, Google, Facebook, all of these platforms, they just want to make more money. So their answer to everything online for these platforms is you want more performance, pay more, spend
Yeah.
more. That's literally,
More ads.
that's it. Oh, by the way, you want your SEO to spend more on content, spend more on ads because one feeds the other. That's bullshit, but okay, whatever. It's just true. But when there are certain channels, Michael, there are certain channels like email marketing. If you've created newsletters and campaigns to update your clients and you've studied the analytics, the segmentation of the audience, the messaging to each one, the subject line, the times that you sent it, the workflow of when, if they click here, this happens. If you dig into that, you probably will find your answer. That's more scientific than it is the luck, than it is the art. So the bad news I tell the recent grads, I was just speaking at a university down here in Florida, and these were seniors who are graduating with a digital marketing degree. I said,
Mm-hmm.
how many of you love math? Like 3 people raised their hands of like 45. I'm like, how many of you pursuing a degree in digital marketing? And like almost all of them were like, me. I'm like, bad news. Most of you have to be good and like math. Because if you don't like data, and not just like dashboards, I'm talking like export it to like an Excel spreadsheet, like old school, and then crunch it and know the numbers in real time so that you can translate what you're seeing here to the C-level people, because the managers at C-level, they don't want to hear about every little touch point and KPI. They just want to know, why did it work? Why didn't it? What are you going to do different this time? And if you don't like math or data, you're pretty much going to suck at digital marketing and lead generation. So for those of you who don't like it, go like it. That's the truth.
I love it. I love it. I love science, art, and luck. Um, I've said some of the best ads that I've ever seen have been very artistic, emotional ads.
Totally.
Right? They haven't said a damn word. They've had some really nice. I think when the pandemic first started, there
Mm-hmm.
was some, we'll emerge from this together ads that a lot of these large companies put out, like Nike and Budweiser and Coke and stuff. They put these beautiful, and they were just pictures of people together set to music, and they ran at some of the most expensive ad times. They weren't pushing any damn product. They weren't trying to sell you a damn thing other than we care about you as a human and we're with you and we're going to get through this. And they didn't say that, it was implied. And then the commercial just kind of faded away. And everybody was like, that was the best ad I've ever seen ever.
And
And it wasn't pushing a product.
no, and they tell stories, right? Like there was the one, I forget which travel marketplace did. The guy walked like on the beach, and he's like, you have you ever regretted not buying something? And he kind of went into like, yeah, probably a vacation. Like you've regretted not buying a vacation. It was a Super Bowl ad. And it got you thinking. You're like, oh my God, yeah, I'm looking at the beach and I had planned on, you know what? I'm going to go look because I don't want to regret not going somewhere.
Yeah.
Conversely, I was driving yesterday in the middle of Florida here because I had taken my kids to Legoland. And I said, I'm always talking marketing with them. So I tell the kids, look at that billboard. That's a great dental billboard. It was this. So we're talking about traditional media here.
Right.
The billboard was this beautiful picture of people on the beach, which 99% of dentists, they don't do this. So this guy is like in a class of his own. It was a picture of that. And it felt like it didn't have a tooth on it. Like the logo wasn't a tooth like it always is, right?
Right.
Everything about that ad was unexpected, but it painted a picture of happiness so that if you come to them, and it was simple, the call to action was simple, not gimmicky, right? When we're coming back, we're headed back. The billboard on the other side of that billboard was another dental office, but instead, the logo was like this tooth. So it reminds you of like teeth work, which nobody wants to remember. And on top of that, the whole billboard was this giant mouth missing a tooth. And then it said something like, "Are you missing blah, blah, blah?" Or like, "Don't miss out." I forget what the call to action is, because my takeaway was, you're reminding me how ugly going to the dentist is. The other picture was painting this picture of like happiness. So again, when you're doing
Yeah,
your ads, you got to think about how people feel, and what you're talking about, Michael, is on point for sure.
I
Tell
love it.
stories.
I love it. Billboards are hilarious. We were just in San Antonio, Texas, on vacation, and there was many billboards up in San Antonio, Texas, that said "hit by a truck," and they were attorneys. They were attorney ads, and I was like, "How many people in Texas get hit by a truck? Like, what the hell? Who would put a billboard up that said that?" But apparently, it's a huge trucking corridor for semis, and people are in tractor trailer accidents so frequently that the attorneys advertise on billboards, so for law. And I was just like, okay, that's a crazy billboard. I took pictures of it. I sent it to all my friends. I'm like, what the hell is going on in Texas? To all my people who live in Texas, somebody call me or email me or comment and tell me what the heck you guys are doing in Texas with trucks. And the other example that I think illustrates our point is those iPhone 13 ads that you see that are just a beautiful macro picture. And you're like, wow, that's a great picture. And nowhere on there does it say, go buy an
Nope.
Apple
Nope.
iPhone 13. It's just a gorgeous picture. And then it's like taken with macro iPhone 13.
Yeah, it tells you the experience that you'll get, like the outcome, the
Yeah, it's
performance.
amazing. It's
Speaks for
brilliant.
itself. Yep.
Yeah, whoever did that, I was like, that dude is amazing. So we've been going on a while about marketing. I want to end with some of your top lead generation tips that you have for folks.
Absolutely. So we talked about landing pages. Get yourself landing pages on your site. Get that right. And a matter of fact, ask your staff, ask your mom, your family members, everybody you know. My challenge, call it the landing page challenge. Here's the link. Tell me if it works, the user experience, right? Put it in testing mode. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, what worked on 5 different phones, and then get it back to your IT team and then fix it. So secret shop yourself, knowing that it's going to happen. So even though you think it's great, the challenge is get your family and friends to test it and tell you the truth. So do
I
that,
love it.
landing page. Then email. I know it's not sexy, email marketing. It still works. You're going to tell me, yeah, but people get too many emails. Yeah, but people open a lot of emails. So you don't need a 50% open rate. You need a 20% open rate with a, 5% click through rate for you to actually generate revenue. I have clients who generate lots of revenue from email marketing, and all they're doing is nurturing their current database, giving them the content. You're going to talk to those clients and say, hey, but what do you want to see on this newsletter or this update? And you send it. Does it have to be every day? Does it have to be every week? It's different for different companies. It might be once a month. Segment those audiences and make sure the different audiences are getting the right content, and then nurture them. Because if you don't nurture them beyond that, so let's say you got this great email campaign. I clicked here, I watched the video, I downloaded the white paper, the case study, boom, nothing else. And then next week or next month, I get another email. Why? If I took that action, what am I likely to do after that? Well, this is where automation, not people, Michael, like that's your industry, tech. The automation allows me to create a path. This is the secret path. And you're not guessing, you're testing. Talk to customers, create a path. That person, we were talking about relationships, Michael, is likely to go down a path that after 6 months of you nurturing them, they're probably going to call you or pick up your phone and go, hey, I'm ready to do business with you. So again, email doesn't sound like it's sexy, but if you create those campaigns and the content and you bring it back to your website, that's where it's at.
I love it. Um, it used to be so hard, right, to get email addresses for people. It used to be you started with just a couple, and then you had to put out content, and then you had to try to get more and more and more. Like 10 years ago, it was damn near impossible to get folks emails. Today, everyone's email is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of really cool tools out there to help you to go gather relevant emails, and then I love what you said, right? Like, don't just spam them with buy my shit, but provide them something valuable, right? Give them something of interest that they want to look at and consume, so that they don't send back, please remove me, but they go, wow, hey, thanks, that was really timely. Here's what we're looking at. Can you guys help? Right? Because we sent a piece of email to a company that we were targeting, and it had on it a bunch of statistics that we had pulled around intelligent automation and how to use automation in the finance area. And the project manager for finance projects was the only one out of like 20 people that we sent. He replied back and he said, wow, this is really awesome. I'd love to learn more. We had a link to our landing page around
Mm-hmm.
intelligent automation, right? So he went there and he said, hey, I see that you have this free 2-day um, session that you guys will come out and do for us to help us brainstorm more about this. Is that still available? We said, of course it is. He said, I'd love to present this to the CFO and see if the finance team is interested in this, right? All because we sent an email with something valuable that got him interested to click in, to see a landing page, to send a note to say, hey, I think I'm interested. And then we didn't, yeah, sure. We sent the same email to that CFO who didn't open it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now we have an internal advocate that champions us forward and goes, hey, CFO, I think this is something we want to just take a look at,
Mm-hmm.
right? To your point, that email and landing pages, I mean, seems so simple,
Yes, and they and,
but
and they've been
it
around since.
works.
Yeah, they've been around since the beginning. And by the way, I mean, when I say email, people say, "Yeah, but email, I don't have any. I got to get some." I said, "I understand. You got to do some webinars, give some free content. Then you start to run some ads. If people download this, they give you their email, and then you build that list. I get it. If you have no emails, that it will take time for you to build up that list. No problem. But the reality is the same could be said for SMS. If SMS is your thing, like in the home improvement space, in the healthcare space, a lot of it is SMS, and actually it's
Mhm.
for service and reminders. And now you're communicating with them at a 94% open rate. The same could be said for phone calls. If you don't want to do emails, fine. Then do it phone calls where you update them once a month if you're a restaurant. If I know there's a group of people who shop here and buy sushi from me, like I can update them once a month on the chef's special via a phone
Mhm.
call. Oh, you didn't have to call. You could have done a ringless voicemail, a message that can be broadcast to thousands of people with the voice recording from the owner or the chef, like, hey, we're having a special this month. Listen, there's different ways that you can do it. It's not just email, because I hear people tell me, well, what about the Apple iOS update where people now can, shut off their, they could put their privacy to like the max, and then you don't know the open rate. I'm like, listen, it's great to have that data to know, like, are people opening or not? And if iPhone users, if I can't tell whether they open my email or not, if I can't tell that piece of data, I understand that I have a harder time connecting all the pieces. But at the end of the day, Michael, if just because I don't know that you opened that email, if it was timely and irresistible and you clicked on it, we're going to connect anyways. I don't need a
Mhm.
piece of data. It's like everything that happened with Apple, people are still freaking out about in my industry. Like Facebook is estimated to lose $10 billion this year from the privacy. Well, listen, in my opinion, from the beginning, which is why I use a VPN on only certain browsers, in my opinion, it was an issue for a decade. And Apple made a
Mhm.
boatload of money charging everybody to give them our data for free. And then they decided that, oh, we're the good guys now. whatever, man, just because that Congress is going after all of them. And they should be regulated heavy. And I don't mind having
Mhm.
hate mail. They should be, because they whore out your data. And now they want to be the good guys and be like, no, we actually care about privacy. Come on, man. Please,
Yeah.
please. They
Yeah.
all want to monetize it and make shareholders happy. And I'm okay with that. I don't put the responsibility on them, by the way, Michael. The responsibility is on you, the user. The fact that they're giving us more options, congratulations. 10 years too late, but going forward, it is good. Cookies going away. People are freaking out. How am I going to know that my ads work? Well, how was it done before 2010? Like, it's just, it got out of control, and the government now has threatened to get involved, and they are, and everybody's backing up and going, yeah, you're right. We were abusing data, but that's not going to make your marketing less effective. It's just you got to
Mhm.
figure out better ways. Maybe, Michael, what we talked about, maybe relationships will become more key. So,
I love it. I love it. Well, Alex, we've covered a lot about marketing, lead generation. So cool to have you on the podcast. I want to remind folks that if you just can't get enough of Alex, he has his own podcast, which is very, very cool. I like his podcast art way better than I like my podcast art. It's got a really cool picture of Alex out there. It's called the Dadpreneur Show, Business and Digital Marketing Talk. So you can find that wherever you find podcasts, out on Spotify and such. And then also dadpreneur.co, not com, .co. Links will be down below. And you can download, like I just did, a free lead generation ebook that helps give you those pointers. But I think we could sum it up with don't have a crappy website, landing pages, email marketing leading to connections, which lead to human relationships that last a
absolutely.
lifetime. It's awesome.
I
Alex,
agree.
thank you for
Thank you so
taking the
much.
time.
I appreciate it. It was so great. As you can see, I mean, I could talk about this stuff all day. And the reality is, just like in your industry, and just like anyone is listening here, there's no silver bullet. It just takes a lot of hard work. I'm not the only guy that has great frameworks out there. There's a bunch of guys in my industry who are doing amazing things. So just get a good framework, follow it, I mean, really follow it long term. And trust me, it will work. You will grow your business, your lead pipeline, build those relationships, and grow your company.
Awesome.